I think it's about trying to get a little bit closer to the person and open up the door to a conversation. Talking inevitably always helps. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to get a young person to that place. Sometimes it's difficult for the professional actually to feel comfortable in opening that door, because they can be nervous about what might come out in the conversation. Can I offer something to this young person if they present something that's really quite challenging or a bit scary? But my advice would be very much is to have that conversation. And it might be about trying to find something with the young person that is in common, or something else, rather than a head-on approach to the issue.
I think fundamentally it's about listening and giving someone a space to talk. I know that can be really challenging for professionals whose time is often very limited, and the space and time they have available can be difficult to make that time. But what we see at the project is actually that providing that space and giving young people an opportunity to talk about what's going on for them is really key. And sometimes just having a conversation is enough for that problem to start to shift. So the fact that they've been heard, they feel that they've been listened to, they've been taken seriously, and that can be enough. You know, they can go away from, and that can turn someone around from feeling really, really low to actually thinking, yes, I can carry on, and that person believed me, and they listened, and I feel like someone's actually there for me.
A real key is allowing people to tell their stories, and I think that's really valuable. And so giving them the time and space to tell their story and learn to actively listen. So you're feeding back what you're hearing and allowing them to clarify. I think that's priceless.
I think being really open and very accepting of whatever is brought to them, so that when you do have that conversation with the young person, to not react with high emotion to it. Sort of try to hold that place of being calm and being very accepting, and allow the person to tell you what is going on. Try not to feed the story too much, if you know what I mean, so that the narrative belongs to the young person. And I think very, very importantly, to not keep it to yourself as well, and that the young person needs to know that whilst you be always discreet with their information, that if it's something of a serious nature, that the professional will need to take that elsewhere, and that might be about something as simple as some supervision, or it might be about getting some expert help in that field.
You've got to be patient, and you've got to allow a suitable time and a place to sit down with that young person, to listen to them, and obviously the more time it's available to you to spend with them, the better it is. And young people quite often tend to share things that are worrying, if they know that they can trust you, and they know that you care for them. So sometimes they would share it with you directly, or they might talk to a friend about the problem, who would then come and talk to you. So it is using any of those opportunities really, but really keeping an open mind about the problem, and giving them that time is the most important thing, I think.
I think things are getting better. 15, 20 years ago, we had a much more mixed result going to a GP than you do now. Most GPs, very good, very learned. They know that they have to know things about mental health in addition to everything else. And generally speaking, people have good results. And you can always go and see another one, if you weren't quite sure with the one that you saw. So that's important to know too. But yeah, I think it's important for us, us laymen, who not necessarily be professionals, to learn as much as we can, because a lot of the information we've been fed about mental health is probably a little bit biased to the experiences of friends and family, and it might just be good to get a bit of a wider perspective.
Take concerns seriously. Don't ever say to someone, well, you've talked to me about it, therefore you can't really have a problem. Actually listen to people, talk to people, and you will know when it goes beyond something that you can help with and you can deal with. And you will know, because you've talked to people and you've spoken to people.
If you're not ready to talk, or you don't have the words, you're not going to be able to. So You know, and there are other ways of getting people to open up without actually getting them to say words. Like, you know, with children, they do like play therapy, and they get them to draw to express their feelings. Like, there are other ways around getting young people to express their views and how they feel without sitting them down in a room and saying, talk to me.
Yeah, I think talking helps, like, other people understand the problem, but like at the same time, when you're talking to someone with a mental illness, you don't really know how you can help them, even though you're talking to them.
Yeah.
And there's the kind of thing where you might say something that you think would help, but in fact it might like actually cause more damage.
I think the thing is you don't know what they're going through, and you can't really. It's quite hard to relate to that, I guess. So you're always worried about saying the wrong thing, like.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's probably better to have everything out in the open than keeping it all locked up.
If you have mental illness, then it's so personal and it's so personal that you don't know who to talk to. People say talk to your friends or your teachers or your parents, but you don't have a good relationship, or you're not that close to some people. You don't know who to talk to, and you feel isolated. And I think that's the problem with it. But I think talking do help, because you're able to share your experience with someone, especially someone who has gone through the same experience, and you're able to share that burden together, and people will understand you. I think that makes you more happy, I guess.
Yeah, I think like from primary school age that people should be educated on it, because it's the same as like sex education, for example. Like nowadays, like 5-year-olds getting taught about it. So, you know, it's all sort of a part of all of us, really. So why are we not training our children?
You know, as a teenager in general, you don't want to talk to anybody. You feel like it's either because you feel like you're not going to get listened to, or you just can't be bothered because you're a teenager and that's just what you do. But in the sense of how to talk to young people and getting them to engage with you, you shouldn't push it. You shouldn't keep pushing them, because even if you're their assigned worker or you're working closely with them for something, you shouldn't push them to talk to you, because it will just push them away. Especially if it's stuff like mental health, it's very sensitive and it's a very touchy subject for people. So I think that by pushing, you're pushing them away.
Talk to the young person as a person, don't talk to them as someone with illness. Talk to them about things you know they like. Talk to them about sport if they're into sport. Talk to them about music if they're into music. Don't make everything about illness, because there is always more to anyone's life than illness. And the other thing, if you're someone who is supporting someone, look after yourself, because you cannot look after someone else if you're not looking after yourself. And sometimes the problems of other people feel so big that how can you possibly take that time to look after yourself when they need so much? But actually, if you don't, then you won't be any help to them at all.
How much time do young people get speaking to an adult? You know, an adult who is really interested and really engaged in listening to what they have to say and valuing their opinion and valuing that they have worth in what their ideas are. I think actually we need to invest in more of that, and giving and allowing young people the opportunity to feel like they're being heard, but what they have to say is really valuable.
Talk to people, and not just about illness. And that's not to say avoid talking about it completely, but find another way in, because if they don't trust you, then they won't talk to you about the things that really matter.
What we do in our team is we always try and get young people involved, but we always try and think of different ways, especially if you're dealing with difficult children that are angry and they don't know what to do or how to vocalise how they feel. You just find something that they're interested in, their hobbies, something that they really like to do. You do that with them, because any time it's giving them the chance to build up a bit of trust with you. So you can then move forward and they might open up to you, and the likelihood is they probably will open up to you, but they have to get that trust first. You wouldn't talk to a stranger about your problem, so why would you talk to someone that's a professional?
The point that it all comes down to is this lack of actually understanding for people who aren't in don't have mental illnesses, can't understand and can't relate and can't sort of put an opinion to whether talking helps because they haven't been through it. And I don't think there's a better way of getting something through to students and young people than through the education system.